His eyes, they seem to say, I once was like this old hotel, but that time's passed away. May not see tomorrow, may not see tonight. I'm just like this old...
I've been asked to read this proclamation, and it's my honor to do so. Whereas this century has been proclaimed International Century of Bible Reading by numerous individuals and organizations around the world who join hands to encourage international Bible reading. And whereas a joint resolution designated 1990 International Year of Bible Reading and affirmed that the Bible has made a unique contribution in shaping the United States as a distinctive and blessed nation and people. And whereas America, being founded upon biblical principles and Judeo-Christian ethics, as taught in the Bible, pay tribute to the Bible for its important influence upon the development of our nation by many of our great national leaders such as Presidents Washington, Jackson, Lincoln, and Wilson. And whereas President Andrew Jackson called the Bible the book of which this republic rests, on which this republic rests, President Abraham Lincoln called the Bible the best gift God has given to man. And whereas the historic speeches by President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have provided compelling evidence that Scripture has played an important role in shaping our struggle against slavery and discrimination. And whereas the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America recognizes our Creator God, and whereas the Bible is recognized as God's Word, enriching the daily lives of millions of people, men and women, who through the ages have looked to it for comfort, hope, and guidance, and whereas the decline in our moral fabric in our country can be directly traced to the time when the reading of the Bible was removed from our schools, and whereas lawmakers, law enforcement, social scientists, civic, and church leaders are searching for solutions to the critical problems facing our nation, such as the drug crisis, violence, and social injustice, all of which can be found within God's revealed will for mankind, and whereas the Bible has made a critical impact upon the development of Western civilization in the form of literature, art, and music, which are filled with images that can be traced to its pages, and more important, our moral tradition has been shaped by the laws and teachings it contains. And whereas regular Bible reading renews the mind of men, thus transforming the life of each individual, which ultimately affects the lives of those in the family, the local community, the state, and the nation. Now therefore we joyfully encourage everyone in Carroll County to read through the Bible on a daily basis in 2013 and continue through the rest of this decade. I, Morris Pate Mayor, Eureka Springs, Arkansas, see the International Century of Bible Reading as a major opportunity to share the message of truth and hope for all our citizens. Witness whereof, I, Morris R. Pate Mayor of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Arkansas to be affixed this 25th day of March 2013. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I have two to start with. First, I'd like to remove number 8 from unfinished business, be the lighting ordinance. We'll just take it completely off for the time being, looking at it later.
Which one's that?
Number 8, unfinished.
Okay.
Lighting ordinance. And I would also like to add a issue with SWEPCO to number 5 under new business. Ms. Snyder.
I would like to add a few things. The first one, I would like to add a discussion of the upcoming arts thing on Spring Street Memorial Weekend.
Street closing.
Street closing. Sorry.
Oh, I could second that.
I would also like to add a discussion, again, a short discussion, of procedures for our council.
Second.
Okay.
And one last thing, a discussion of our city trolley that is going to be going out for bid.
I'll second that.
That's it for me.
Anybody else? Mr. Mitchell.
I'd like to see if it would be possible because we would have a citizen here to discuss that Sherwood Court sewer problem, if that could be moved up maybe to follow public comments or something so that they could make their statement and then be able to leave without going through the whole agenda.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded? Okay. So moving number 3 under new business up to under public comments before unfinished business? Is that the way I understand it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
The utility line?
No, the sewer, Sherwood.
Oh,
Sewer.
I'm the wrong part. Okay.
Mr. DeVito.
I would like to table item number 4 under unfinished business until our next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further? Not motion to approve the agenda is amended.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, that brings us into approval of the minutes for March the 11th, 2013.
Move to approve. Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Any questions at all? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved for March 11, 2013. Next to be commission, committee, authority reports, and expired terms. Beverly, I believe you're here for planning.
Good evening. I'd just like to let you know that we have a public hearing for April the 9th at 6 p.m. for a CUP request at 8 Drennan Drive for a 1-unit B&B. And tomorrow we have a new construction review for 110 Huntsville Road, which is the Travel Lodge. And at our last meeting, we did have a Board of Zoning and Adjustments, and we did deny an application for a duplex on a small lot at 37 Mountain. But those appeals do not come to this table. They go to court if that is appealed. But I just wanted to make you aware of it, just in case you hear about it. And we do have 5 commissioners now, but we really do need some more, so I hope people will sign up. Thanks.
Thank you. Trying to get out of your way. I don't have anything from CAPC, Hospital, Parks, or HDC, but I believe Ms. Pownell is here for cemeteries.
Morris, while we're waiting for her. On the hospital commission, did I read something in the paper about that Allegiance is going to have Rock Bordelon here to discuss the Allegiance
That was my understanding.
at April 15th meeting?
I would have to go back and look at my notes.
Okay.
David.
Okay.
But that was my understanding. So, Marianne, how are you?
Hello there.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Mary Ann Punnell, Chairman of the Cemetery Commission. I'm here tonight to give you our 2012 financials that we just received from Wendell. You should all have a copy of them, I hope. Pretty much same thing. We look really good on paper. Not the same, though, as far as our operating account. However, you know, we're really encouraged as a commission, though. We're really working together as a team. We've got some marvelous worker bees on our commission that just go above and beyond the call of duty, and it's really a blessing and a privilege to be able to work with them. But anyway, on page 5, if you would direct your attention to, this is pretty much the bottom line of everything. It says that our sales for last year amounted to $11,263.84. What that figure entails is actual sales of burial plots. Approximately 25 plots were sold. Okay? There is a discrepancy. If you're looking at the sales, it says $12,833 on your report. And then there's in the parentheses, $1,569.16. That was due to the fact that 5 plots, we had to do an exchange to a person because they were previously sold plots. Our previous sexton, not Tommy, our previous sexton had sold plots to a person that they had already belonged to somebody else. So to make it right and fair for the person, we had to do kind of an exchange and give him some extra plots of what he paid for those plots at the time of purchase. So that's why you're seeing that discrepancy in there. Yes, James?
I don't think we've received those yet.
The copies of the...
This one.
Nope.
You didn't get copies?
You didn't get copies.
We'll listen to you. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make you copies.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, this is public information. If you all ever have any questions regarding our financials, call me up. I'll be more than happy to meet with you, go over anything you want. But we look really good on paper. We're to the good as far as our CDs, $110,000. And that is wrapped up in the CDs. As you know, the commission is very, very frugal. We do not want to touch those CDs until we have a clear explanation of how those funds are to be used. For an update on that, curiously enough, we received a box filled with cigar boxes. And in the cigar boxes are pieces of cellophane and cigarette cartons and Clark bars and anything else you can imagine with cemetery records written on them.
Oh, jeez.
It's so eureka.
Where did it come from?
It came from the family of Albert Harp.
That is so cool.
It is.
Good.
The downside of it is that it's going to literally take a while to go through all of these little scraps of paper and see if we can match them to any missing documentation that we don't have regarding burials. There's just a whole lot of unanswered questions as far as what do we actually have that's saleable, that we can actually sell at the cemetery, that we have no fears to sell. So, yeah. Yes.
Do you have any projections of what you have left in lots at all, really?
I do. And Tommy can get into that a little bit more when he gives his expansion. We've got some exciting things happening. We are expanding the cemetery presently. We do have wonderful, beautiful sites available, ready to go. As of this moment, approximately 70 plots we have that we can actually sell. Is that correct, Tommy?
It's in the Block 27 extension, yes.
Yes, and they're beautiful, beautiful.
We also have the plots that are available in the green space that we're starting to open up between Block 77 and 78. Another 60 plots there.
So we have quite a few available plots, but we are looking to expand, and that's currently what the commission is doing right now. We had a very good kickoff to 2013 calendar year, and so with that little bit of money, we're able to do an expansion without having to borrow any funds, without having to dip into the CD money. We're able to pay for it all cash. As of today, it's all paid for cash. So we're really happy about that as well. Any questions?
Hang on for these cigar boxes is worth
Oh, it's a project.
It's
rather amusing seeing records from the 60s and 70s, early 70s. It's all in there on Clark bar wrappers and cigarette cartons and cigarette flaps and anything you can imagine. It's just little scraps of paper, but we feel that hopefully there will be some information in there regarding the CDs as well, since it was during that time frame when those CDs were designated and donated to the Cemetery Commission. Okay.
Any further? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tom, you need anything to add?
Just to add in, as the article said in the paper, we are currently clearing out an exterior area on the 27 extension and between blocks 52 and the existing Potter's Field. Clearing the brush back right now. The inclement weather and equipment broke down kind of halted that as of Saturday afternoon. So we have approximately 3/4 of an acre total cleared right now. When we do get it all cleared and are able to measure it out and around the existing old growth trees, we should have another 120 plots to add into this. As of right now, the rest of the work will have to be done by hand and with chainsaw, pick and shovel, things like that when I have time. That's about all extra that I have to say.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
I
Thank
just
you
have
both.
one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
We are planning a Memorial Day event again this year. It'll be May 27th. We already have lined up a sound system. We're going to expand the program this year. We've got Pine Mountain Jamboree, free lunch, hamburgers and hot dogs. I'm told that our hamburgers are the best in town on Memorial Day. So if you don't have any plans that day, we sure love to have you come on out. We're also having a work day, a community work day, the second Saturday in May. The commission, once again, will be there to assist you if you have any questions regarding anything at all about the cemetery. If you're there just to maybe spruce up a loved one's plot, we're there for you. Coffee, cookies, and hot chocolate will be provided.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that'll bring us into public comments. First on the list is Ms. Darlene Schrum. Very articulate. It'll be a lost art. Hi, darling. Come on in. I don't think I'd lay it there. Here.
Yes, if I might give one of these to the council members and to the mayor.
Let me turn this around. So you can lay all your stuff right there. There we go.
See what I got. Yes. And then also if I could pass one of these out.
Thank you.
Well, the people on that have signed this are business owners, shop business owners, and we are opposed to the closing of Spring Street on May 25th, Memorial Day weekend, for the following reasons. The timing of it. Memorial Day weekend is one of the busiest weekends of the year. Parking is limited and motel and hotels are usually full. It's not a good time for a special event. Effective on downtown businesses. It's a 3-day weekend. Those are great parking spaces that we have on Spring Street. They have a lot of turnover. It's not just 24 spaces. They turn over with a lot more customers than that. The shops stay open all year long, and we're finally getting into our season, and that's a 3-day weekend that is very good for the businesses down here. Not only that, there wasn't anyone that's on my list that was contacted directly to see how they felt about this. I think the owners, and they've been through this before when the street was closed, and there's confusion with customers coming to town that have never been here before. The traffic problems that we have on the end where I wrote this, it's really hard to write this because, like, if it's closed at Main and Spring Street and that customer pulls up there that needs to get through and he starts asking about, well, what can I do? Where do I go from here? He's going to a hotel, and then he asks other questions. There's people backed up behind him that may be going that way or wanting to know, and to ship them down from there to Hillside to come back in town, people that have never been here before, it's going to be just very, very confusing. And not only that, if you have a lot of vendors, they have to have a truck or some way to get here and to get their materials and what they're showing there. And then where are they going to park? There's just so many things about it on a busy weekend like this. And that's why the shops are opposed to it. And I appreciate everyone's trouble that has went to get this together and feeling like they're going to do it for the businesses, but it isn't beneficial for the businesses to do this, and it's not good for the customers to get confused when they come here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, next will be Mr. Mel Shipley. How you doing, sir? Go ahead and step up.
I'm Mel Shipley. I own a shop, The Silly Chili, with my wife up at the top of Spring Street. And please don't shut the trolley down. When the trolley shuts down, we drop sales by about a third. It happens. I don't even have to look out the window. My shop fills up. I know the trolley stop has just occurred. My shop starts to empty out. I dwindle down to a few people. A bunch of people come back in again. I know the trolleys come by and let out a bunch of people again. It's typical that way. It just keeps it. That's the way it goes all weekend long, all day long. We need these summer months. And if we shut that trolley down, you're going to hurt everybody on Spring Street. And not just the top of the hill of Spring Street, but all of Spring Street. I've been fortunate enough to do, or maybe unfortunate enough to do, a lot of art shows in my life. The best art shows that you can do if you want to do a city art show is get it into your city park or get it onto a side street off of a main street. I've never been to an art show. I've literally done 500 art shows. I've never done one on a main street of town that worked out well. The first thing we run into is upset people. And it gets really, really tight. The bad thing about having art shows that are really, really tight is that the artists don't even get good sales. It's too congested. There's too much going on. They're better off in a larger area where they can separate out and they become a discovery zone. They'll sell better. If we put them at the Pine Mountain, they'd sell better. If we put them out at Lake Leatherwood, any place but on a busy street where you really need to have your people working for you. Your shop owners are working for you. We're paying the taxes. We're asking you, don't do this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pat Lujan. There he is. Hello, Pat.
My name is Pat Lujan. I live at 269 North Main. I also am a gallery owner here and an artist here in town. I'm here on behalf of the ordinance 2178, the outdoor sales. And what I really would like is for you to consider what you're considering to be outdoor sales. You know, I bought a piece of property out on North Main where I'd eventually like to set up artists and crafters out there. And with this ordinance, it would stop me from doing that. I don't think that that's right. You know, I understand trying to regulate yard sales, rummage sales, such like that. I live near the person that's in question as far as, you know, this yard sales go, because, I mean, it was a month and a half long. So I understand giving time frames and such like that, but I really think the definition of outdoor sales needs to be defined. Otherwise, then, you know, outdoor sales could be considered shop owners, and I am a gallery owner, having stuff outside their shop. You know, so I don't think there's a clear definition for what you're considering to be outdoor sales. The other thing that I want to bring up was the fact that I know that there was some mention in planning about having to get a permit to have your studio in your house. I don't think that you all have the right to tell me what I can turn my rooms into in my home. And I really need you to really think about what you're doing there. We're artists. I don't know if you're trying to run us all out of town or what, but all of us have studios in our home. And I don't know why you would consider the fact that we have to get a permit to do that. It's just not, I've never seen it done, and I just don't understand where that's coming from. And also I have to say, despite the fact that I may not be liked after this, I'm for the market sales that are going to be on Spring Street. I think it's a wonderful thing. We need street life in this town. It will bring more business to this town, despite what other people may think. And I also want to commend you all on the great job that you're doing. I think it's wonderful. It's to see a council that's actually getting work done. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bob Jasinski.
Bob Jasinski. Since they brought up the Spring Street closure, I'd like to speak on that because there was one or two things that weren't mentioned. I'm actually, although I'm not a shopkeeper, I oppose closing off the street because what I understand too, they plan on bringing in vendors to put up tents to compete with the local shopkeepers and sell their trinkets out there. These people don't contribute to the town. They don't pay any taxes here, and you're going to take money out of the pockets of the poor merchants on the street there, and you're going to take away their parking spaces and take money out of their pocket, the people who live here and pay taxes. I think it's unfair. And this is similar to the issue we had a couple of years ago with the Sunday market. Remember, what was the consensus of opinion there? Get rid of it. You're taking away all those parking spaces to bring in all these people who pay no taxes? Why? I don't think it's right. The other issue here, I sent you all an email. I hope you got it. And so I'm not going to waste your time. You got a lot of things on the agenda with regard to weekly rentals. I just would like to point out that, interestingly, with regard to the weekly rental issue, where tourist or transient lodging is banned without any exceptions whatsoever in R1, and without any limit as to time. So Eureka Springs was a trailblazer in that issue. It should be praised. It had the foresight to do something about vacation rentals. That's an issue that every other city in the country is playing catch-up on. Cities like New York, San Francisco, New Orleans, Sedona, Arizona, are all struggling with this issue. Now, interestingly, since I mentioned I spoke with with Mr. DeVito last year, we have an unended limit. In other words, if a transient comes into town here, he's working here for 6 months, I got a home back in Sedona, and I'm going to go back there, after my job is done here. That's a transient. And technically, he's not allowed to rent anything here. So what I'm suggesting, too, is, as I said in the email, which nobody responded to, as usual, I think the definition should be changed, too, to allow people here who are staying less than 30 days. This would make it, comport with the CAPC tax to, in other words, loosen up the restriction, which is open-ended, to say that the transient is defined as anyone who rents anything for less than 30 days. Now, that's a very simple issue, unless, of course, you ask a New York lawyer to address the issue. How many pages does it take a New York lawyer to determine the limitations on less than 30 days? Let me see. Here's 1, 2, 3, 8 pages. Anybody want it? This is the New York law on transient rentals of less than 30 days. So I guess maybe you should keep it, unless you want to have a New York lawyer come here and spend a couple of months writing a new ordinance. The other thing is the CAPC, the bonuses. I don't know what everyone knows. It was $50,000 in bonuses. That's approximately $5,000 of the budget was paid out in bonuses. I hopefully the CAPC will have the foresight to address that issue and make sure the bonuses. Am I got time up?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Have a good day. Bye.
Right.
I never got an email.
I sent it to all the person. I guess you're not all the person. They must
I didn't get
sabotage
one.
your
Well, I
account.
didn't get it either.
You didn't get it either?
No.
Did it go to the designation all
Well, it says,
aldermen?
yes, all person.
I know we've had a problem with that.
Yeah,
I
well-
do them individually.
Maybe you went to Captain
Okay,
Harris.
Mr. Kamal Atwill.
Thank you.
I hope I said the last name right. I know I said Kamal right. So.
Yes, Atwell.
Okay. Atwell. Okay.
Watch it, that's my boss.
We still have a lot of stuff brought up tonight.
Kamal,
People
how
are
you?
paying attention.
Good to see you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Kamal Atwal. I own 56 Spring Street, plus other multiple businesses around. I've been here since 23 years, so we have seen this before, but closing streets, it never works, and I can assure you it will not work. people who are trying to tap into the people who are already here on the busiest day of the year is going to hurt the people who are already in the buildings. And people who are in the buildings are going through a lot of stuff, paying the bills. It's going to be hard. So if somebody says, okay, we're going to invite people because we're going to do this, it's going to be opposite, entirely opposite. Best thing, according to me, nobody's against the events. I know that. Everybody likes to have some events, but there has to be appropriate place for those things. The best place at this time, I'm sure everybody knows, school parking lot is empty. Long-term events should never be on the street or on the parking lots because that's where the backbone is for our businesses. Whenever you take away parking, we are done. So anytime there's hourly events in the street, yes, it's okay, hour or so, then it's done, like parades are done, and then business goes on. But when it's a whole day or 2 days, it should never be on the parking spaces, never, because we have very limited parking spaces, very limited. Now, some people might say, okay, in the weekdays, oh, look at this, it's empty. But the weekends, we're all full. In the weekends, we need more parking. And we depend upon only weekends, really. All that it is. If we do not have Saturday, Sundays, we will never be in the business again. That's all I can say. And secondly, whenever there's a long weekend, a busy weekend comes, there's always everybody try to converge in the new vendors, the new people, all of a sudden try to tap into those people. Yes, not saying they should not do it, but they should do it in an appropriate place where they can, not in front of other businesses. Don't try to take away the other businesses. I'm not just talking for myself. I'm talking about all in general, that this is just a thing that everybody just should know this, that all the people who are paying all these rents and mortgages, they get hurt. They're just devastated when things happen like that. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That'll end public comment. Let me just make a note that Mr. Brian Hostek was number 5. He's from Sherwood Court. He'll be up next after, now, actually.
Yeah.
Mr. Hostek, you can come on in. Hey, let's just grab a chair right there. Oh, let's see. Hi.
It's my wife, Rick.
Hello. I remember you. I don't know if we can sit the doors yet. Why don't we can sit right there? You get to sit by the heater. Okay. In the agenda change, it was recommended that number 3 under new business be moved up to the space between public comments and unfinished business. Motion to discuss?
Move to discuss.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Floor is open. Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Purkeypile.
Had called and asked me to come out to his business so that he could share a concern that he had about the sewer issue. And I went out there and listened to him, and he wanted the opportunity to present his concern to the city council, and I agreed that he deserved that opportunity. I also see in some of the reports we got here that the Director of Public Works has a narrative discussion about what they've discovered and everything at this time. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our citizen who has the concern and let him share.
You have the mic, sir.
Hello, my name is Brian Hostick, and my wife Lil and I own and operate Sherwood Court. We're starting our 3rd season here this year. Enjoying it, having a good time. With the exception of last month, we had a sewer backup while we were away on holiday, and we came back to find that a 4-room motel unit had a extensive sewage backup into it. We had to go through a process of elimination to find that. At first, when we got home, we noticed that the toilet in our home wouldn't flush very well. So, process of elimination, pulling the toilet, trying to snake and look for a clog. Ultimately, we found that there was a clog in the main line. I have brought everybody kind of a timeline. If I could pass these around. Sort of a timeline of the events here.
Okay, I'll take that one.
Also included with that are our expenses to date, and you'll see at the bottom of that what we're asking the city to reimburse us for as far as damages. There's evidently a long history of problems with Sherwood Court and the sewage, the sewer line there that services us. The previous owners who sold us the business, Roger and Debbie Miner, they had as many as 3 incidences the first 2 years they owned the business. The third one was fairly catastrophic. And taking the city's advice, they installed a backflow preventer on the sewer line and replaced a good part of the sewer line as well. In our, I guess you would say, as we were fact-finding and learning about the sewer system that services us, and with the city's help, by the way, we discovered an unknown line from the motel unit to the main. It was the best, everybody was operating under the best known information at the time, but there was an unknown line, and we discovered it. We discovered it was tile, so we went ahead and replaced it PVC, and we have put a backflow preventer on that just as our, really our first line of defense. So our concerns are twofold, really, that we've been damaged. We've done an excellent job of getting our motel unit back online. We've saved money. We've done most of the work ourselves. But we're also concerned about what sewage sorrows are still lurking beneath the streets. If anybody, Mr. Mitchell indicated the narrative with Dwayne Allen. I've also got a letter that we sent to Dwayne sort of outlining what we talked about that has our concerns as far as the main line. And I've got those passed around as well if anybody would like one.
Sure.
Phew, it's kind of warm right here.
If there's not enough, you can have this and I'll get another. Should be.
Are we allowed questions?
Yeah.
Yes, this is an agenda item.
Okay.
So I just wanted to keep that real brief and just give you a general outline. Thank you for the time to present this, but I'd just like to open it up for any questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Hostick?
Yes, sir.
So do you feel, do your plumbers feel, and does Public Works feel that the issue of jetting causing sewage backup into your units has been solved at this point in time? I didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling that it was all fixed.
No, I don't think it is fixed. And I don't believe that Mr. Dwayne Allen feels that way either.
What? Now, I read Mr. Allen's discussion of that. It was a brief discussion. It said that there's an issue with the elevation. It's gravity flow sewage, so there's an issue there with the elevation. Did he give you any indication of what he thought the long-term fix might be? And this is not, right now I'm talking about trying to fix it so it doesn't happen again.
Sure.
It sounds like there's a history of this happening.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern as well.
And we'll get into remuneration for, issues a little later, but did he give you a long-term fix for this?
No, not a long-term. He thinks that it's, well, for one thing, the main line is only 6 inches. And it's my understanding that code calls for 8-inch line. Also, the line comes from Tad's, would be like down, was that Nova? From Tad's down to where it meets Glen Avenue. And it makes a 90-degree turn and heads back, it would turn right, I guess, back east on Glen. And at that 90, there's no lamp hole, there's no manhole, so There's no real good way to. It almost comes in and hits us full force from a block of traveling down the main.
Where is your line tied in at that point?
Our line, I'm guessing, to the motel building would be just a matter of maybe 6 feet from where the main turns, makes a 90-degree turn to head back down Glen.
I mean, does your line come in right at that 90-degree?
Close.
Close to it? So is that the city's, your line, correct me if I'm wrong here, the owner is responsible for the line on your property until it hits the main, correct?
I believe that'd be right, yeah.
Okay. So you think your line is okay? It's what, a 4-inch, a 6-inch line? What is it?
It's 4-inch.
4-inch?
And in the process of discovering this, because we were just trying to get the sewage had backed up past the backflow, so we were starting to back up on ourselves at the house. And at the time, this was going on, we didn't know anything about the motel. We checked in on that later that afternoon. But so that's telling me that, and we tried to snake that out. We got a little 25-foot. A neighbor came over and we snaked out from our clean out at least out to the main, and we couldn't get it relieved. It wasn't until a plumber came out with a power snake. He went through our clean out and as far as I think 160 feet. Down into the city main and hit a couple of root masses.
So we think there's obstruction in the city main, and the city main is probably too small.
And I don't think that there's enough fall, from what I heard from the plumber. There's not enough fall, it's too small.
Dale, why don't you come up to the microphone? Yeah.
And that was
so we can hear you.
That was all outlined pretty well in a letter that Roger had, I guess, sent to the previous mayor. I think her name was Danny Joy. And he worked with Dwayne quite a bit. Dwayne is very familiar with the situation. And go ahead.
Well, that's my understanding, is that the line's too small, there's not enough fall, there's not a manhole, there's not a lamp pole, and there's that 90-degree thing. And my main concern is this: I just don't want it to happen again. It'll put us out of business if it were to happen during our big season. The only thing we're thankful for right now is that it happened during our off season. So we worked really, really hard trying to get everything back up and running, and opened up later than we normally do, and lost a little income.
I just want to add, I got a letter today that Diane made available for me through FOI, and in the letter, I guess in the first 2 occurrences that Roger had with backing up, they thought most of the time it was because of jetting. And so they kind of developed an elaborate protocol for making sure that caps were removed to relieve pressure when they were going to do it. And it's one of those things where there's an internal sort of method for doing it in our neighborhood without causing problems. So.
Well, and I'd like to follow up on that. Do we think that jetting caused this? Was there jetting?
We don't know. We don't know that.
Public Works Director couldn't tell you that? That it
he
occurred
said he
during
was
that
going to
month?
look into it, but we don't know that for a fact.
Well, they should know whether they had anybody in the area
We
jetting.
haven't talked to him since the time he was out there at the first meeting, and I asked him that, if they kept records on when they jetted those lines, and he said that he thought they did, and he would check into that. But considering the fact that nobody was in the motel rooms, they're empty, there's no water flowing through there, and then, it's...
But we have a time frame.
Yeah, we have the time frame of when we think that, and the plumbers, from what I heard, said that that's what they thought happened.
I made the point to Dwayne that, I'm almost hoping it was jetting, because if it wasn't, then what's the cause? That seems like a more serious problem.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I wouldn't shake my head at you.
You were zoned out. When y'all bought this from the miners, did they go through disclosure with you? I'm intrigued with the fact that they had problems and chose a cheaper way to take care of it. Did they disclose that to you?
I don't know that it was in the disclosure in the real estate papers, as a proper real estate disclosure, but they told us about it. I mean, we heard about it, and to tell you the honest truth, I don't know whether we heard about it before or after we signed on the dotted line. And I would have to look back on the settlement papers to see if it was in the disclosure.
Because that definitely should have been in disclosure, because I'm intrigued by the letter we've got from Public Works, because the previous owner, obviously, I'm one of your neighbors, I live back on Emporia. They had problems, they knew about it, and instead of going the good way, he went the cheap way.
Well,
is what it sounds like.
He took the city's advice, as far as we know, and installed a backflow preventer on his line.
But he did it on the wrong, he did it on a line.
The wrong place?
But that line that we discovered wasn't even on the city maps.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's not.
We feel confident we now know where all of our issues are being sent.
Okay.
Yeah, finally they came out with some dye and put it down a sink, but somehow, I don't know, something to figure out where this is going.
My lines are totally flat under my house.
Mr. Mitchell.
Question for the attorney. What happened in the other case that's out there, not out there, was there, maybe solved or not solved?
Talking about the lawsuit?
Yes. It is an active lawsuit
It
still.
was.
It was.
It's my understanding it's now been settled.
It was settled.
But not with city money.
But not with city money.
It has always been the city's position that these type of things are under tort immunity, and that is the established state law.
And so that principle's still in effect?
It is.
Okay, just wanted to check. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Purkeypile?
Yeah. I'm just having a hard, because I was there the last time that Roger and Debbie Miner had that episode, because we were building our building and I was staying with them. They did happen to be closed, so I wasn't there in the building, thankfully, when we had a surprise visit of sewage. But to my knowledge, unless it was deemed otherwise, it seemed like that was based upon a jetting incident. Is that
that was our understanding for that.
Is that your recollection of talking with them? So I'm thinking we need to find out if this was, if the city Public Works inadvertently did this, and thinking that we had a backflow preventer, you had a backflow preventer on the line that it was a previous problem, and now you don't. I see two problems here. You're out $5,000+ out of your pocket. And it seems to be not a problem of your particular line, but the city's line not being up to code and being old. And we know we've got infrastructure problems here within the city, in particular with sewage. And we can't just leave it buried. It is underground. We've got to do something about it. And this is a prime example, that the city really needs to start addressing this issue. And this might be a test case to, let's take care of this problem so it doesn't occur again. And I'm not real sure that the city doesn't owe the Hostics what they're out. That's just my opinion.
What is a clog? In your letter, you say we evidently broke a clog downstream in the city's main line. You mean a
root mass?
Okay, I thought maybe this was an item.
What came back with the snake? It was yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there was a clog in the downstream city's main line.
Out of our connect down into the city downstream.
Okay.
Yes, I know a whole lot more about sewage than I used to.
As you ever wanted to know, right?
Go ahead.
The clog was in the city line, or that's what you think it was in the city line?
Yes, sir. Okay. We believe that to be true.
Okay. And then the other thing is this other line that you found, is that your line or is that the city line?
That was our line.
That
It
is
was
your
in
line.
good shape and functioning, but it didn't. It was unknown, and it didn't have a backflow preventer on it.
So you don't know if it was the problem line, or you feel that it was the problem line.
Well, we know for a fact that that was the line that sewage came back up into the motel from.
That line wasn't damaged. I mean, it wasn't clogged or broken.
Yes.
Well, that's to follow up on Terry's question. You said your plumbers ran that through there, and the clog. You didn't reach the clog until you got to the city's main line.
That's
the city main.
That appeared to be true. Yes.
And you could probably have your plumbers,
Oh yeah.
Describe that or not
There was
testify
two of them.
to it. But.
We brought out Mr. Joel Walker from Rycard. He came out with the Power Snake first, and he ran it as far as 160 feet out of our clean out. And from the house to the main line, we discovered just maybe 20 feet.
I see.
So we were we didn't know what we were doing or where we were at. We were just looking to relieve the backup, and but that didn't even get all of it. So we Richie with PMP came out. He brought his power jetted that area, and then that let the rest of our backup go on. And it took two pieces of machinery to get it cleared out.
Mr. Mitchell.
So there's a backflow preventer on that newly discovered line now? Okay.
We didn't lay our first piece of tile or first stitch of carpet until that was done.
But you weren't able at that time to eliminate the draining flat and below grade to get a backflow preventer in it?
Well, the draining flat and low grade is first of the city's main.
Oh, it's the first of the city's main, okay.
And I'll mention the backflow, makes me feel a little better, but at the same time, it brings us more susceptible to self-backup because they're known to catch debris.
Yeah.
And so I've got to be pretty vigilant about staying on top of our backflow, making sure it's cleared.
Ms. Zimmer?
Am I missing a piece of literature here? Do we have the cities, do we have Dwayne's take on this?
You should have it in.
We sent him a letter that he had.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't have this, but I have this now. And rather than taking time to read it, what is his assessment of the problem? That is the problem that there weren't these backflow valves, which I can hardly contribute to this conversation because I know nothing about sewage. But I'm just trying to get a handle on what was the last opportunity to avoid this problem, to get these backup valves on everything that comes into the house or into the motel units, or would that not have prevented it anyhow?
That's what they're designed for. No.
Okay, but they absolutely positively work.
In, I'd say 90% of the cases.
Okay,
from what I've
so
been
the
told.
problem is that there wasn't one there.
They
But
put it on
since
the
he
wrong
didn't
line.
know that the line
they didn't
was
put
there.
it on the
That line
wrong
wasn't
line.
on, was not
But he didn't
known
even
about.
know there was a line there, so he couldn't put a valve on it because he didn't know it was even there.
Exactly. Mr. Miner apparently put it on the one he knew existed that they
Okay.
thought was the problem when Mr. Miner
Okay.
owned it. That's my
Okay,
understanding.
so this was not his fault either. If he would have known about it, he would have tried to prevent it by putting a valve on it, but he didn't know about it because somehow or other the plot or the lines or the drawings or something weren't complete.
I didn't know much about that. That's before I took office.
We have a lot of lines we don't know where they are.
Okay.
Mr. Weaver?
Our code, for a long time, my understanding, many, many years, has required those backflow preventers in areas like this.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, a property owner who has a problem and doesn't have one has been repeatedly by courts found to be liable themselves because they didn't have it, especially when they have lines that are coming from their property themselves and they don't know that line exists.
But in this case, if he had no way of knowing there was a line
They
there.
eventually had to have put that line in there. They had to know it was there.
Somebody did, but we don't know
Property
who.
owner.
No, y'all.
Not necessarily you,
You only
but
put it
whoever
on.
put it in there to begin with, and they
Okay.
should have put a preventer on it at that time.
Okay, so could this conceivably go back to that person?
If they didn't get the proper disclosures, possibly they have an action, and I'm not going to advise them whether they have an action or not, but they possibly have an action against the owners that they bought from, at least, because obviously they knew there was a problem.
Okay, well okay. I
Well,
have
they
no
thought they had
comment
it
on that,
solved,
but at least
though.
I know what's going on now.
They thought they had it solved.
Wow.
Yes, are we going to resolve this problem this evening, or are we just kind of listening to things, or, I mean, I'm not really sure what.
State code says any remunerations has to come from the city council, not the mayor's office. And that's
Well, and that's fine and dandy, that's where it comes from, but I'm just, what is our purpose? I mean, is that what this is on the table for, to decide that right now, or
Fact-finding, I
we
think.
just listening to the information? I mean, I want to know where we're going with this.
No, are we discussing tonight or coming to a solution?
That's totally up to y'all. Mr.
My
Mitchell.
asking to have it on the agenda was so that these citizens had the opportunity to address the issue with council. I never expected that it would be, in my opinion, that it would be resolved tonight, that we would obviously have the opportunity to have our city attorney discuss it, and then it would be a subject that should be weighed carefully.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Purkeypile.
Well, I agree. However, I think we need to take this a little step further, and we need to get Public Works involved and have Mr. Allen discuss it, either address this more succinctly. Because what I read here, it says, towards the end of this big paragraph, it says the best solution would be to reroute the service line or remove enough rock to lay a new main. So he gave two options. One was rerouting your service line, okay. The other was removing rock to lay a new main. With both options being turned down for the cost and relatively small flow, they installed a backwater valve, and we will evaluate the line to determine if any sections need to be replaced. You know, the Hostics should not have to pay for upgrading, repairing, rerouting the main line. Now, rerouting their service line, that's a different situation, and typically the owner would pay for that. I think, you know, there's two issues here. We got to solve the problem. This problem's not solved in my mind right now. You need to be real careful with your.
It's not solved in my mind either.
Yeah, be real careful with.
It's
what you
real
flush
tough
down
writing
your-
that check to Public Works, especially for sewer. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
because we felt like we already bought a train load.
Well, and the second thing is we have to get it straight from city Public Works as to whether this was a jetting issue and whether that was caused, because the previous owners, am I correct? Roger and Debbie Minor, they were paid by the city.
Yes, they were.
They were paid from the city for
They paid
damages.
$5,000. They made a claim for, I don't know, we have
I
their.
think a little over 8,000, and we're paid $5,000, I think.
Okay. So we've already set a precedent once with this. You
No,
know.
you've not set a precedent.
What do you mean? We just stated it right there.
You have refused to pay on other occasions with other prices. So there is no actual precedent. You may consider it one in your mind. Other council members may consider it in their mind. But you do not have a legal precedent that you have to repair, or replace, or do anything. You have a state law that specifically says, it's the stated law of the state, that you have tort immunity for it.
Okay, but we have established that the previous owners were paid for this identical situation in the past, in the not too distant past, correct?
You are correct. They were paid some money. Okay. But that does not require you to pay again.
I think at this time we've exhausted all of our options with the information we have. There's more information forthcoming. I just feel at this time we should move on with the rest of our agenda, because this is going to come back to us.
Well, can we put this on the agenda for, we need to have a time